called this press conference here because as the EPA is close to pulling up stakes, after 42 years, concluding its work is complete, proclaiming the site is as human exposure under control, the NYU Langone Medical School has found that there are still dangerous levels of contaminants in these soils and air and in the bodies of the residents here, and that they continue to sicken and die from what appear to be exposure-related illnesses. So the big story is what NYU Langone has found in their survey. So I'd like to bring up Judith Zelikoff of NYU Langone. Judith?
Let's make this short enough here. I'm not that short. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for coming. I know it's early in the day and you all have lots of things that you have to be doing, but I appreciate that you made the time to come and to hear the results of our study. And so let me tell you a little bit about me and about how we got started. But before I do, I want to introduce you to the people. You know, you've heard the expression, you're only as good as the people around you. Well, these are the people around me, and they make my job easy. This is Jill. Jill is a registered nurse with a degree also in psychology, and she works with me as the community coordinator. And this is Tri Hun. Tri Hun is a doctoral student in his 4th year, and it's this project which he focuses on for his thesis, for his PhD. And this is Andy, and I forgot Andy's last name. Jelinsky, and he is a new master's student that just came into our Department of Environmental Medicine in the Department also of Medicine, and he is working with us, and he will be working on this project as well. So, and I'm Judy Zelikoff, as Elliot just told you, and I am a tenured professor in the Division of Environmental Medicine in the Department of Medicine. And my specialty and why I'm involved in this program and how we came to do the studies is that I am a toxicologist. A toxicologist studies poisons. I'm an environmental toxicologist, so I study those things that are found in the environment. And I am focused on environmental health and public health. 13 years ago, I was fortunate enough to attend a powwow up here, and I had one of the elders and Chief Man come up to me and say, "You're right down the road in Sterling Forest for NYU and Department of Environmental Medicine. We're living on a Superfund site. Can't you help us? Why aren't you helping us?" And I said, "I don't know why we're not helping you." So we've been with the Ramapo Nation, particularly the Turtle Clan. Chief Man was open and accessible and told us that his people needed help. So we worked with them, and basically we've been with them 13 years. You never leave a community. And so we had a grant way back in 2013, and we worked to bring about good health and testing of the soil, the air, the fish, the water. That was in our earlier study. And in our earlier study, we found that fish in Sally's Pond was contaminated with cadmium, that there was still lead found in places that was not even on the Superfund site, for example, around the church. And then from there, we reported and we published the data showing that there was an association between bronchitis and asthma to proximity to the Superfund site here. And after that, we were fortunate enough in 2022 to get another grant from the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, a branch of the NIH. and they awarded us a grant to help with nutrition and to help with health. And so we worked closely again with Chief Mann and facilitated and worked with the farm. And we have free produce markets, which again we're going to have this Sunday. We also do things like we have health fairs. We have cooking classes to build in nutrition with some of the farm produce. We also have partners that donate produce when the farm is off season. And so we have a number of things. We started by having a survey, and I gave some of the press, and I'd like to give all of you, all of the press, how we started with the survey. We also, as one of our aims, did exposure assessment. And that was basically Tree's project, one of pieces of it. And with that, we tested soil, and he can tell you if you have questions more about that. We tested soil and air, and around 5 different what we call zones, because everything we do for community is anonymous. And the only people who know anything are myself and Tree and our research scientist. And so we did the exposure, we collected, and in 5 different zones on the Superfund site and nearby the Superfund site, but not declared a Superfund site. And the results, we also did blood and urine to see if there were any burdens in the people, and if there was any metal burdens or PFAS, the forever chemical. A lot of metals that were originally dumped here, things like arsenic, lead, cadmium, all carcinogens, potential carcinogens. So what we found, that Elliot was on our report back to give back to the community, because the community owns the data. We gave it back, and Elliot, who just spoke, was there, and he said, this is astonishing. We have to get this information out, because this is a community that no one is listening to. Possibly, probably because they're state recognized and not yet a federally recognized tribe. What we found in the soil, what Tree found, was from taking these samples from, again, around here, but also off-site, off of the Superfund site, is that there were very high levels of lead still found. We had it analyzed by the University of New Mexico laboratory using high-powered instrumentation. We found lead in the soil at rates about 4.7-fold higher than the rest of Ringwood and other communities. And we also found arsenic at high levels. And we know that arsenic is very common in New Jersey. It's part of the geology. And the standard is much higher than that of the EPA, which is 19 parts per million in New Jersey. Some of these places, some of the sites that we sampled had as high as, for lead, 900 parts per million versus lead was as high as 900, and arsenic was also about 10-fold higher than the standards. We looked at New Jersey standards, we looked at EPA screening levels, and we compared our data to that. So we found that in the soil. We also did testing of metals in populations, volunteers from Ringwood, Native Americans, and found that there were, in many people, there were high levels, higher than what should be there from the standards, of lead, of arsenic, of cadmium. Okay, so my take-home message from this, and I'll be here for questions, our take-home question, our take-home address is, it's not clean. It's not clean enough to protect the health and well-being of the people. And so I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Nobody has experienced the pain and heartbreak of burying his cousins, his brothers, his sisters, his mothers, his fathers, his aunties, his grandparents, his uncles, as a member of this community who had been the chief of the Ramapo, the Turtle Clan of the Ramapo Lenape, who today is now the acting principal tribal chief of the Ramapo Lenape, and that's Chief Vincent Mann.
Kiha Kolomosi, Ninja Shenzi Kikai Man, Nunji Ai Lamawo Tekwa. How are you all? As you heard, my name is Chief Vincent Mann. I hold two distinctions within the Ramapo Lenape Nation, one being the Turtle Clan chief, and the other being the acting principal chief of the Ramapo. Many years ago, when I became the Turtle Clan chief, I eventually moved back home, and it was due to two reasons. One of those was the pipeline that was being thrown down through our throats, that we were successful in stopping for 3 months, but also we set a precedent where a Native American tribe in this country actually became a condition of the permit to proceed forward, which provided an opportunity for not just our community here, but also other tribal members to be out there when these machines were turning and grinding and ripping up our ancestral lands. And then the other reason was because I have watched from the outside my family die. None of this, what you'll hear coming out of my mouth, is anything new. It's just that it never goes where it needs to go, and nobody ever does anything about it. The only thing that you will see that is done around here or for our people is because it's done from within. And trust is something that was lost a long time ago. It was put into the federal government, right, to come in here and to clean and protect and the humans who were living here, our children, our elders, the water that we were drinking from the mountain springs, the animals which we would hunt and eat. And in '94, they deemed this site to be clean. And in fact, it took 12 years to get this site relisted. And during that time, it seemed appalling to us because all of the material that had been listed on the original listing, most of it was still there, right in plain sight, never even touched. And yet the federal government, the EPA, claimed that it was all clean and it was okay for us to go back to live our lives as we always had. And that amounts to a death sentence. Because that's the reality of what we have here. We have a community that used to be 1,100 plus people that now dwindled down to less than 200. 30-year-old mothers dying of ovarian cancer, leaving behind 3 children, one only being 1 year old at the time. And then the year after that, her mother dies of brain cancer. And then 2 years after that, her father dies. Where in the world do you see this? Especially in the state of New Jersey. Especially 39 miles outside of New York City, where everybody comes and everybody profits. And they have done nothing but profited off the back of these people who have lived here and died here, and who were here before contact, who refuse to actually leave because they are so grounded to this soil. Yet nobody wants to step forward to help them live. There are a lot of people who are responsible for the failures, the EPA being one of them, this town being another. The state of New Jersey has also failed our people. Ford Motor Corporation has failed our people. Arcadis has failed our people. The Maximus has failed our people. What if this was in any of your communities? What if your children were sick and dying? Like 10-year-old Colin, who died blind in his uncle's arms at their home. How would that feel? What would you do? You probably wouldn't stop until you were standing inside of some building where everybody was going to be forced to listen to you. There was one funeral Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. What would happen if one of your families had a funeral 7 days in a row? That's beyond sickening to me. This is not crimes against our environment. This is crimes against humanity. And these people who deserve the very right to be able to live and prosper and be free of all those things that every single one of you are supposed to be free of by the Constitution of the United States of America. We're beyond failed. We can't bring back our elders who don't exist anymore. How are we supposed to sit here? We, for years, have told the EPA, you can put an earthen cap on something all you want, but the water doesn't just fall down from the sky. It goes from right to left. How come there is no warning signs at Sally's Pond that says don't eat the fish? How come Sally's Pond gets stocked with trout in April? How come nobody is saying to stop this water or put a filtration system in before it goes less than a mile away to the Wanacue Reservoir that feeds 4 to 6 million people of New Jersey who are not us? People in Franklin Lakes didn't even know where they get their water from until one day I went there and told them. They were appalled. They freaked out. What will the people in Newark have to say? The largest city in New Jersey, getting their water from the Wanacue Reservoir. And the solution to pollution is not dilution. Because when you have that happening to you for 64 years, it builds up in your system. The metals in my body are way over what should even be thought about being. PFAS is way over. How is it possible that these people, the Rampo Lenape Nation Indian Turtle Clan, is still sitting here today suffering? Every single government has a responsibility to the people that they watch over. And when they are in those capacities, in those official capacities, and if they're not the ones who physically did it, they're just as guilty as those people because they're the ones who didn't do nothing about it. That still do nothing about it. Our people still hunt here. Our people still gather here. And they're eating poison things. Why do we have to continue to fight after 400 plus years of oppression? From the time of colonization until today. This is the effects of colonization. All our people ever wanted to do is just live like their ancestors and be able to be free. And yet we're the ones that still have our hands bound to our feet, where we can't even get up if we try. If you're in official capacity and you don't have Chief Man's phone number in your phone or Chief Man's email, keeping him abreast on everything that's going on in here, you are still as guilty as the next person. When the EPA does finally close this site, it's going to be one that's going to be reopened again because all of the stuff that they pushed to the middle that could not be just taken out, especially O'Connor Disposal Area right behind you. When they took material out of here back in the day, they took it, sent it to Michigan, they put it through the furnace 2 times, they picked up a red phone, called Washington, D.C., get your people out of there right now. This material is too toxic to be buried anywhere in the continental United States. We bury nuclear waste here. That material, unbeknownst to us, ended up in Canada. And it ended up across the street from another indigenous community who then called Uncle Wayne Mann and told him that they are having the same exact effects that we have. What kind of sense does that make? Our people pay taxes. They go to the schools. They fix your cars. They're in the hospital when you get sick. How come they are left to their own demise? I could have you standing here for days. Honestly. I have nothing good to say about any of this process other than our relationship that was formed with NYU and our other friends who came and stood behind us. Media used to be here all the time. And what happened? This hasn't gone away. Most people that you talk to, they think that this was all done and said back in 2010. The only thing that's changed between then and now is the number of human life that is actually living here and not in the ground. It pains me so bad. Thank you.
Just to mention a minor indignity that the Turtle Clan has to deal with. This is the O'Connor disposal area behind you. And when they finish capping it, the Ford Motor Company is gifting it to the borough of Ringwood, who's going to move their recycling facility, their dump, from right behind you the other direction to here. So what they're doing, I mean, it could be a solar field. What they're taking the town dump from the backyard of the Ramapo and putting it in their front yard. How is that improving a life or a community? Next up, I'd like to introduce you to my colleague, Allison McLeod from New Jersey LCV.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here, and thank you, Chief Mann, for sharing those powerful words with all of us. My name is Allison McLeod. I'm the Deputy Director for an organization called the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters. We're an environmental nonprofit, and part of our mission is to protect public land, public waters, but it's also to protect public health, right? Because it's important that as we talk about these issues, as we talk about things like Superfund sites and studies and parts per million, it's easy to forget that we're not just talking about numbers on a page. We are talking about people. We're talking about the Ramapo Lenape Nation, the Munsee-speaking people that have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. And the NYU study confirms what they have been saying, what they have been shouting from the rooftops, is that as we look, as I was driving up here, this beautiful land around us, underneath that land there is a story. And that land is poisoned. That water is poisoned. The work of the EPA is not done. And it is an honor for me to stand here today with the chief and with the people and call for immediate action from the EPA, that we are not finished, that we are not done, that as Chief so eloquently said, everyone deserves access. These are not just environmental rights, these are human rights to clean air, clean water, safety for our children, safety for our communities, and for our futures. And so today, for far too long, there's been promises of cleanup and protection, and they've been delayed or denied or only done halfway. As the chief said, people want to think out of sight, out of mind, right? And we're here today to say no, that ends today. That people here have to live with higher rates of cancer, of asthma, of heart disease. These are real public health problems. These are stories from families. These are, again, not just numbers on a page. This is environmental injustice in its clearest, most obvious form. A community that has to shoulder the legacy of a toxic industry in a place where their people have called home before any of those industries were here or even created. And so we cannot allow this to continue. And so, again, it is an honor to be here today with the chief and with our partners, with our colleagues at NYU who did this work, to say it's the end of broken promises and they cannot stand in the place of real solutions today. So we're calling on the EPA to conduct more comprehensive testing of soil, water, and air, to revisit its final determination, and for full and complete remediation with community participation as the only acceptable path forward. And we're calling on the state of New Jersey to honor its promises to the Ramapo people to ensure that they can live safe and healthy in their communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. The results of NYU's testing come as no surprise. Dangerous levels of toxic chemicals still contaminate the soil and air of the Ramapo community. Community members continue to sicken and die from illnesses that are likely associated with chemicals exposure. Yet, the EPA categorizes this site as human exposure under control. I'd like to read a quote, which is the following. The EPA has ignored many reports of widespread contamination when it assured residents that Ford had cleaned up their neighborhood. Only now, in the midst of a fifth cleanup in Ringwood, are federal officials paying attention to all the paint, solvents, and other Ford debris buried deep in the mountain's abandoned iron mines. That was written 21 years ago in an expose by the Bergen Record, which led to the site being relisted after the EPA had deemed its work complete. Are we going to hear this again? If the EPA were trying to slowly kill off the Turtle Clan, they are being very effective. We'll now take your questions.
Has there been communication to the EPA since this report? If so, what has it sounded like, and has there been a response? And if you could answer at the microphone.
My understanding is that it's not yet published. This is preliminary.
Yes, this story is not published. In fact, I have to send Tree home so he can finish it. But we have reached out to Joe Gowers and the community director at Region 2, and we have let them know about this, just as we let the borough of Ringwood know by sending our flyers. So there's been no contact in their direction towards us.
What's the timing for the report to be released?
We're hoping by the end of October. It will be published in a peer-reviewed scientific journal.
Is there any recommendation for what the cleanup needs to look like? What needs to be involved in order to remediate the situation?
Well, I think my ideas for this, they have to take, right now, let me say that the EPA is testing semi-annually for groundwater and for some sites surface water. That's it right now, and it's twice a year. They have to take more samples to really identify. I mean, we didn't have any trouble taking our samples and analyzing them. They have to branch out. They have to do more. They have to continue with air monitors. We found, what I didn't tell you before, is that the benzene levels in this area for 5 different areas that Tree collected by air monitors is 20-fold higher than the screening level for benzene in the air. So they need to do more air monitors. They need to measure, and then they need to get rid of whether it's capping, which is not really the toxicologist's first choice, but removal, complete removal. And unfortunately, when the record of decision and everything was being mandated before they closed it, they said capping will do it. Well, capping doesn't do it. Capping doesn't account for floods or for downward movement. And believe me, the chemicals we've talked about, move. They're mobile.
Maybe Chief Mann would like his perspective on what would be appropriate?
So,
Sorry about that.
it's okay. Eventually I'll be that close to the soil. I'm reminded when Miss Judy was talking that a few years ago when air monitors were placed out, we got a report in February of that year. Actually, we got it in March. And in that report that was filed by the Maximus, Ford Motor Corporation's environmentalists, to the EPA, I figured, let me open this up, try to make some sense of it, because I'm not a scientist, right? Just a human being. And what I noticed was that there were 18 times that those air monitors went off, that the elevation of the chemicals that were being picked up were incredibly high. 18 times. So we all know that the month of February is short, right? So how many days did they actually work, right? So if they worked 20 days, 18 of those days, those limits were way above what it should have been. And so when I questioned this, and I questioned it to the EPA, the state of New Jersey, to Maximus, very fervently, because we have children in this community, right? We have bus stop right behind it, right? And so the Maximus came back with saying 18 out of the 18 times that those monitors went off that they discovered that there was a malfunction in the equipment. This equipment is designed to be in a hell of a lot worse places than we have here. And yet they told me, oh, well, the lens was fogged up from moisture inside, and the other lens had dust that had covered it up. Well, it's supposed to be reading that dust. You know, this is just proven. I mean, the former DEP commissioner of the state of New Jersey actually filed a criminal investigation into Ford Motor Corporation. Yet it's disappeared. A senator, a U.S. senator, not from here, filed an investigation, criminal investigation into Ford Motor Corporation for wire fraud, because Ford Motor Corporation manipulated their findings, and it was found that they did manipulate them and then put them through the mail. Heck. Anybody know what natural resource damages are? Right? Natural resource damages. That means that we met with the state of New Jersey here and all of their lawyers. And there was a lot of human beings present. And so we asked them, what does natural resource damages actually mean? So natural resource damage claims are usually put to those people who perpetrated the action to create things like this Superfund site. And a natural resource damage claim is something where, in this case, in all cases, you have to be a, what's that word? Gisa, do you know that word? You need to be a, it'll come to me, right? But the only people who can be that, right, is the state, the EPA, the Army Corps of Engineers, federally recognized tribe. Yeah, there's a word for it. It's probably right here, but yeah, there's another one, but it's not just a stakeholder. What it means, though, it means that there are only certain entities that can actually file a natural resource damage claim. And so for here, right? That natural resource damage claim, what they do is they assess this land prior to dumping, right? Everything. And then they assess the land for damages during the dumping. And then they assess the land after the cleanup for what would be forever. Right? So just imagine. Peter's mine is behind us is 2,400 feet deep, 17 levels. Right? And so we were actually at a CAG meeting. Doug was there. Judy Sullivan, who's not here, was there. Maybe a few others. And at that CAG meeting, which is held over at the library in Ringwood, my Aunt Vivian, who's one of the 7 people who are no longer alive, living in that red house over there, she came out of the room and she was crying, hysterically. And she said to me, "Did I hear what was said?" And I said, "No." So I went back into the room and I sat down at our desk in the front, and Joe Gowers was there, and a few others from the EPA. And so I waited to hear what it was that my Aunt Vivian was so hysterical about. And what she was hysterical about was that Ford Motor Corporation had given the town of Ringwood about $4.1 million. And so once the mayor began to speak, that was the opportunity for me to ask questions. And the questions that I had asked were very pointed, because I knew who and who couldn't file for a natural resource damage claim. And so Miss Monahan, who is or was, or could still be, the town of Ringwood's environmental lawyer, she said that the reason why Ford Motor Corporation gave them that money was because they told them they had to. And then I said, "Well, you told them that they had to, and what reason?" And she said, "Because they dumped on our land." I said, "So Ford Motor Corporation dumped on your land, so you told them they had to pay you $4.1 million for a natural resource damage claim. Is that right?" She said yes. I then proceeded to walk that backwards, right? First of all, Ford Motor Corporation didn't dump on the town's land. Ford Motor Corporation dumped on land that it bought and then donated to our people, which was then confiscated by the town of Ringwood for lack of paying $2,000 in taxes. So they became the owner of that land to your right. So Ford didn't dump on their land. The other part of that is that the town of Ringwood could not file a natural resource damage claim. They are not one of those entities, just like I'm not. Turtle Town isn't, right? Sept County's not. You have to be the state or one of those federal agencies or a federally recognized tribe in order to put a natural resource damage claim in. So how is it possible that all of these things continue to happen to our people? How? If all of you believe in God, right, or Allah, or Kishalamokwane, is what we call the Creator, we're so tested as a people, right? What I just told you is wire fraud. You know, the only person walking around here still today, after 16 years of being the Turtle Clan chief, saying wire fraud? Me. Well, how come nobody else is listening? Because it's true. Doug was there. It was recorded. The federal government was there. All it takes is for one person to open their eyes, take something that we, the people who have been suffering here, take those words, look at them, and then realize that what we're saying is the truth, and that it needs to be acted upon. Yet that doesn't happen. When the state of New Jersey did a press release and filed an NRD claim against Ford Motor Corporation, they put in their claim, we tested the turkeys, don't touch them. We tested the water, don't touch them. We tested the biota, don't touch it. And our people, including the former mayor standing back there, fought the EPA in the state of New Jersey to admit that what we already knew was the truth. And yet nothing ever happened with it. It was always consistently covered up. What do we want? Us people? Our people that live here? Even way beyond me. They want to be able to go and have children and go to the hospital and have their children come out without having any health defects because of living in a federal Superfund site. They want their mothers back. They want their fathers back. They want their uncles and their grandparents back. Their siblings. Who's going to replace them? They're all responsible for the demise of this human people who live here. What is the answer? Right? Lisa Jackson was here. Right? Made all the promises in the world to our people. Nothing. Walter Mugden was sitting in a class at Ramapo College with me, and he said, when he was asked by the students in this room, in a public setting, do you think that the health disparities, the cancer, the illnesses, and the sickness comes from the Ringwood Mines dumping by Ford? And he turns and looks at me, looks back at them and says, this is off the record, but yes, I do. Walter Mugden. How is that? How is it that the head of our DEP can still, all of them, not even just today, all just get away with letting these people suffer and die? That's the story. Hell, if they don't care about the Turtle Clan people who are sick and dying, or the Deer Clan who's sick and dying from Ford over on the Hillburn side, or the ones who live in Mawa from the Wolf Clan, if they don't care about the Ramapo Lenape Nation being sick and dying and fading away into the darkness of history, they should be at least caring about those other 6 million people in the state of New Jersey. Again, I could have you here for days, right? Because there's so much truth that needs to be spoken that we never are given the opportunity to do. Never. You know, when you all go home, this still is going on. Tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Right? We don't have medical benefits. We don't have a health clinic. We have a struggling farm. But my wife and I and NYU tried to put something together to provide something. I'm not a farmer. It's not always successful. You know? This community needs the outer communities to stand up, support, and care about them, to help us. Does anybody have any more questions for me? I promise I'll try to make it short. Yes.
You mentioned before the community used to be 1,100 strong. It's now dwindled down to 200.
Yes, sir.
How long has that taken, and what were the reasons? I mean, is it all mortality or people moving out? I mean,
90% of it has been mortality. So we did a dot chart back in the day, right? So we just took a chart, we put dates on it, right, from 1939 to 2009. And until you get up to 1969, and at that point there was a dot, right, an elder passed, this passed, and then when you got to that section there from 1969 to 2009, there was so much death. The ATSDR, right, and the CDC should have been here doing what they should have been doing all along, right? They did it at Love Canal. Love Canal is a pin drop of the contamination that is under your feet right this moment, right? And yet they helped those people. And they didn't help the other ones on the other side of the fence. Some thought that that contamination wasn't going to go underneath it, but eventually they were successful in fighting that, and they were all removed, right? And then the great state of New York decides that they're going to allow people to go in there and buy those homes, the young families who were young and having children for next to nothing. And then what happened? The same exact thing, because they didn't get it all. Right? But there was a time when people left and people came back. These people have never left. Not in this way. Right? There used to be 80 homes. There used to be a road named Pipeline. Mysterious fires used to catch those houses on fire all the time. Mysterious fires happen down here too. The fires reported in the New Yorker, from right there, right, burned for weeks on end, and they wrote an article saying that that orange glow you see in the western sky is not the sun setting, it's the fires burning in Ringwood. Even to those fire hydrants that are here on the side of the road, there's not even enough pressure in those lines to put fires out, where West Milford has to come and Tuxedo, New York has to come to help control the fires. So the amount of people who were here, some did move away, right? The younger people like my age, right? And they would move only so far away to the outlying towns, right? West Milford, Wanacue, Haskell, right? Because they thought that they could get away from it. You can't get away from it. Because their DNA, those switches inside have been turned on. It's going to take forever for those things to be turned off. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't address it. Yes.
If I understand that the idea of capping contamination just leaves it under the ground,
Right.
aquifers under the ground.
Right.
I'm going to guess this is a water quality management plan area. The Wanacue Reservoir is here. There's millions of people served. I think it's Passaic Valley Water. There's EPA. They're testing twice a year. There must be wellhead protection zones in the area. Where's the DEP, state level? Whether they're reading the reports that come out of EPA twice a year, I don't know. But how do you enforce water quality management, period? Zones in the area, when you bury the contamination, you cap it, you leave it there. It's not limited like anything else. The water travels across municipal borders, it travels everywhere, we all get it. I don't understand how the EPA, the DEP correlate to just cap, cover, and leave what's under the ground. Under the ground is spread to everybody,
So
not just everybody here.
So the first thing is that the state of New Jersey will turn around and say that it's a federal Superfund site, so they are not the lead agency. That is true on a piece of paper, but the state of New Jersey has inherent responsibility to the citizens of the state of New Jersey and to protect us, which supersedes that of the federal government, right? Number two, Ford's contractors are the ones that are doing the work, creating the reports, giving them to the EPA and the state of New Jersey. So if I was like that, how do you make something look like it is in their mind supposed to be, that would be satisfactory to the communities broader than our own, right? I just told you about the air monitors. You know, we have people that will testify that they saw drinking bottle of water get opened and poured into another thing and then sent out, right? And so one of the issues that creates that problem for everyone in the United States or U.S. territory is the fact that the legislature or the Congress of the United States of America and the EPA got it wrong, right? When they find the person who is potentially responsible party, which means that they are responsible, trying to give them a break with people's thought processes, but when they find those people, the federal government basically holds them captive in a lawsuit, and they are then told that they have to go and clean it. So those corporations then hire people to do the job. Do you see a problem there? Right? And I have told this to many legislators. The EPA should hold those people accountable, and those people should be made to pay. But they should not be the ones who are allowed to do the work, right? Because they're going to do the very minimal amount necessary for them to get this behind them. And that in itself is an issue that needs to be addressed.
So why doesn't the Passaic Valley Water Commission have an interest in keeping clean water that it would cost itself to clean as well?
So
Is that worth that much more to fix than to just cap this?
no, it's called Pandora's Box. And I went to the Wanacue, North Jersey Water District years ago with our lawyer, and I sat there with them and I explained to them that the only way that they're going to solve the problem of water going downhill is that it needs to be treated and gone through a reverse osmosis system. And, oh, Chief Man, do you know how much that'll cost? I said, well, how much is one person's life worth? Never mind 6 million. Never mind even ours. So that in itself is that if it was to be said, the truth was to be said about the contamination levels of the Wanacue Reservoir and all its tributaries that leave this place, which in 1916, right, the Hewitt family said in the land deed that anybody and everybody who ever leaves any kind of contamination on this particular piece of land, this 500-acre site, right, it must be cleaned, period. When I showed that document after we discovered it and brought it to Walter Mugden and Joe Gowers, they had it for 2 months, and then I'm like, where is your response back from your lawyers? And they go, well, we feel that it's not valid anymore because nobody came forward and said anything about it. And I was like, well, hold on a minute. What do you think that I am doing right now? Right? That document's still there. What they have done here is illegal based on that thing that runs with the land. Plain and simple, right? Venka?
Oh, thanks, Vinny. I just want to ask all the organizations, Highlands Coalition, New Jersey Health Science, NYU, New Jersey LC,
University of New Mexico.
what's your plan? What are you going to do? You going on? The record of decision is
The first thing we're going to do is
Yeah.
lower this mic.
very funny.
I don't have to explain to any person here the political climate that we're in right now. Keeping grants that work with communities, that work with marginalized people, that work with underserved and people who don't have a voice is very, very, very difficult. We got this grant in 2022 and we almost lost it this year. But having a good NIH behind us, we were given our 4th year of funding.
How much is it?
And really, that's an NYU issue.
I thought it was about $500,000. Is that
It
true?
is, that's,
Each year?
it's about $500,000 per year.
Uh-huh. Who
And
gets
that's,
that money?
what?
Who gets that money?
All of our partners
Uh-huh.
and me.
Uh-huh.
I have to tell you, based on that type of question,
Uh-huh.
that I am given 10% effort. Do you know what that equates to? I have to be in work 4 hours a week. I am here 5 days a week, 7 days a week. This is not about the money, if there's any thought about that. The $500,000 per year, where is William? William Pennick from New Jersey Institute of Technology is our co-investigator. They get money. Tandon, who's an engineering school at NYU, they get money. Chief gets money for the farm and
What-
for the events.
What is the farm doing?
The farm is producing produce that is given away at free produce markets.
Uh-huh.
They're supplying his time that
Uh-huh.
comes and teaches at all of our lunch and learns, which the people here who are here, many of them have come to our lunch and learns. Many of them have come to our grief center. All of these are professionals from throughout the country who donate their time for free at our health fairs, at our cooking classes. We have a chef coming who's from Culinary Institute of America. We have doctors coming. We have geologists coming. we have everyone. And if you want more information, you can also talk to Deacon Deborah, who is the deacon of Church of the Good Shepherd, who's come to our events.
But okay, fine, very good.
Do you want to add anything?
Highlands Coalition, what are you doing?
Well, we called this press conference.
Yeah,
I mean, we want to publicize this.
but we know all this. Everything
Not
that
know.
has been said
You
today,
know it.
lots of people know it. They can read the EPA, everything, Judy, that you have done as far as your testing, I applaud. I mean, I need to know where did you do this testing? Is in the EPA records. There's tons of contamination here. Tons. All over the place.
There's also,
We all know that.
yes,
So, like, what are you going to do to change that?
I don't,
Venka, you know a lot as a former mayor of this town. So to answer your question about what is being done is that this is a process where we are always being pushed backwards, right? The state of New Jersey is going to be coming to the forefront with all of this information. It has taken years. If we would have had a epidemiology study, right, that was never created by the state of New Jersey or absolutely anybody, we would have been all the way down the road, or we wouldn't even be here today, right? And so it takes years of collecting that data that other people should have been doing for all that time ago. And so the work that NYU does is limited to by how many of our relatives here come forward to actually have these things tested, right? Their blood, their urine, their sugar, right? I mean, all of that effort. It's a massive effort with nothing.
But I understand all that, Vinny. But what has happened in all these years? And how are you going to make it happen?
Hi, my name is Marcy Langhorn. Marcy,
Here.
I am.
Hi, everybody. I get emotional, don't just overlook it. It's just something that I lived through all my life here, okay? And I'm still a resident here. This is our land. There is contamination. Trying to get it to be livable or out. We're working on different things, yes. But I know where Vanka's coming from because I've been here. I've seen the deaths. I've seen a lot of stuff going on. And everybody outside, all these organizations receive monies. And to help you with whatever. I'm not saying specific, but they do. And Vanka's asking, there's no communication what you guys are doing to the community that is also trying to help us. That's what she's trying to get at. She's trying to get at that there are people out there helping us, which is true. There's people banking off the back of us.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's you guys. There's people writing books, movies, and everything. And we live on this territory. I pay taxes along with everybody else. So from the outside community right here, they're asking what you guys are doing. I understand where she's coming from because we don't see everything. And I know you hide stuff from us or keep it because you don't want it out, but the local people here need to know what's going on. If I have a question with NYU or anybody has questions, they come to me because I'll stand up and ask the question. There are many community people that don't live in this upper Ringwood area that are willing to help us. And they want to help us, but they don't know how to help us because the communications get mixed on how to help us. And there's people out there that may not like us or whatever. That's not the point. We were taught to move forward. So the ones that do want to help us, come help us. But she's just asking because we don't see no work being done from the outside neighborhoods. Yes, there are people in the town that don't like us. There's people in the town that do help us. There's organizations here that do help us. Okay? We need help. Not just for the environmental. We need help with fuel. We need help with electric. Bills like that because we're basic people living to survive. A lot of our community is not here because they have to work. Okay? Some people say, oh, they don't work up there. That's not true. We all work. And we all put our best efforts first. We've been criticized for everything, for living here, having 7 legs, and everything else through Z100 years ago. We fought them, okay? We are moving forward for everybody to come together as one. It is a double-edged sword, okay? Now, talking about the cap, I disagree with the cap, but I live here. And I said at them meetings that I know the cap ain't gonna last forever. But can they really get down to 2,400 feet of chemicals? Can they? We don't know. Army of Engineers, when we had the drought, was in there. They couldn't do it. So what makes it think that somebody else can? So I understand that our people are dying and we don't want to move from our homeland because this is our land. Like you might not want to move from your home. Okay? We're trying to make the best we can. I understand Chief too. He's doing the best he can to get this out there, to get the help that we do need. Okay? Do I agree with the cap? No, but it's a double-edged sword. We cannot be a straight-edged sword because we all have to live our lives and we have to try to make this work. We have children in school. Okay? They're finally being accepted by other people because now they're learning to know us. People didn't know us. They only hear Ramapo Mountain Indians. Oh, they got 3 legs, 4 legs. They're like the people of the eyes of the mountains and stuff like that. And then when they get to know us, they know we're real people. We're working people. We're hard people. We have people that are doctors, lawyers. We have people that work in basic waitresses and everything else. We're just a human person. And we just want the help of everybody to try to make this right. That's all we're asking, to make it right. You know, I mean, there's no effort going on that we see outside. So Vanka just is trying to say for the community here also, we need to know what's going on besides 6 months down the road. I know, and I'm on the cab. Do I agree with everything? No. And if I have an opinion, I tell them my opinion. Everything I think may not be right for everybody, because we all have our own opinion what's right. But I think that people need to start also talking to the homeowners and the community here, not just doing what they think is best, because it's not always best what you think for me or you. I was a former Turtle Clan chief years ago, and I may disagree with what they voted for, but I took back what the majority did because that's what we're supposed to do. Chief man, when they come to me, I go to him too. So he's doing the best he can also. But all I'm asking is everybody to come together and start giving some more information out to the outside community so they also can come and help. That's all. I think that's what Vanka was really asking about the community. What is our plans to move forward? And hopefully we all can get together and step by step. If we take 3 forward and 1 back, that's what we got to do. But we got to keep moving forward until this is done, because for generations, we got children coming. I'm in my 50s. This ain't going to be done till my great-great-grandchildren. And we just have to keep informing them and getting things going the way it's supposed to be. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Marcy.
You're welcome. That's basically, I think you were
Yeah,
asking.
I know.
Basically,
Sorry.
Superfund Site.
I know there's,
I know.
I have a couple of other things to say. So everybody seems to bring up the money. And please understand that the money we got, $500,000 sounds a lot to you, but we've hired phlebotomists, we've hired chefs, we've hired, please help me, members, we pay members of the community for their time and their effort of giving surveys, and I'd like to pass out what we're doing. We pay people in gift cards for the survey, the time it takes them, for donating blood and urine. What are we doing with that data? We are giving it back. We test for things that are not tested for by your doctors. We test for metals. That costs $250 a sample to measure metals. It costs $500 almost to test for PFAS, forever chemicals. It costs a lot, and that all comes out of this money. It comes to help pay Jill, the coordinator, who is boots on the ground here all the time, okay? It comes to support a student who's also here. I've been disappointed, and Chief has talked to me on and on. We have all these events, and I want to tell you that CAB is the Community Advisory Board. and that is members of the community. We meet every month in person or by Zoom if they can't make it, and we pitch ideas, they pitch ideas back. Everything we do is because the CAB said we need air monitoring. We need to know if we're exposed. We need to know what our blood is showing. We need nutrition. We have a food desert here. We need how to buy and get produce that's grown in a clean area in the farm, which we tested before we gave out any produce with the chief. Okay, so all those things are happening, but my disappointment stems from the fact that at all these events, including our health fairs, where you have next health fair is going to be a dentist from NYU. They are bringing their students and full dentists to give oral care, and then they give them a gift certificate to go to NYU and get it for what the cost of the gift certificate, which is over $200. Who do you think pays for all this? But what do we get? How many people do we get in an event? We're lucky if we get 13. We don't get people, the community, who we're saying we're having a health fair. We have doctors there, we have dentists there, we have grief counselors there, all volunteering their time. We have food specialists, nutritionists. We have everybody coming. What do we get? We get 5 people. So we're trying to help. Small steps is all we can do. First of all, when you work in a community as an academic, we don't have a good reputation, academics. There have been academics who have come here, taken things and left and never showed up. We've been here 13 years.
True.
And that's why most people know me, okay? Because I go to the church, and I'm not even of the same religion. I go because if you're a part of the community, you are part of the community, and you do this. But it took a long time to build trust. In most communities, my colleague who works with the Navajo, it took 8 years before they would allow her to sit at the table. Vivian saw me go to the powwow and said, I like you. How can I help? You have a good heart. And Chief came down while he's cooking and said, you have to help us. So it only took me about a year or two to build trust, but there are still many people in the community who do not know me and therefore do not trust me. And why should they? This kind of face has destroyed them. Generations and generations. So it takes a long time. The first year with the grants, first 2 years spent meeting people and getting them to know who I am and showing up. You want to gain trust with a community, particularly an indigenous community, you better show up and you better keep your promises. So what am I doing? I'm showing up. I'm keeping my promises. I'm having lunch and learns that talk about doctors who talk about diabetes, who talk about cardiovascular illnesses, who give free things for people to take home, to learn. We had CPR classes. We had Narcan training by Pat, who's from the Deer Clan. We had, you name it, we've had it. CPR, cardiovascular. The money that we got, we bought a AED monitor for the church. Okay? We bought these things because the people need to survive, but more than that, they need to thrive. And I just want to answer one point of another question, and that was, is it published? I completely forgot, because I'm a boomer, that it is all over the internet. The report back is YouTube. It's on Elliott's New Jersey Highlands Coalition, and I want to give this out to all the reporters. Oops, not this. This has QR codes on it. We're also on YouTube by the AAMC, which is the Association for the Advancement of Medical Colleges. They have done a story map of the Ramapo, and so please, especially especially the reporters, please take this and know about how people can enlist in a survey. And unfortunately, you want to talk about people not showing up? Let me tell you that the people, we only have about how many non-Ramapo people? 40? We have 40 people, non-Ramapo, out of 146 from Ringwood, from Wanacue, from the neighboring towns who filled out this survey. I had somebody come from the church, a young man, go house to house, and people told him, forget it. Don't want it. Don't want to be bothered. Doesn't affect me. Okay? So that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Are there any more questions from members of the press?
What was the most alarming finding of your study as a toxicologist who's been doing this for many years?
The levels of lead in people. And that cannot, they don't measure metals by the MDs, okay? You have to ask for metal burdens. And that will cost you, privately, hundreds of dollars to have that done. You go and you say, I want mercury measured. We had someone in NYU medical school who was on a fish diet, and she ate nothing but fish, and she had high levels of mercury that was causing tingling in her fingers, in her feet, and she had to have chelation therapy, which costs almost $1,000. So the levels of lead, we all have lead, unfortunately, especially older people. We all have some level of lead which binds in our bones and stays there unless there's a fracture or something else. Okay? So the level of lead, the level of arsenic, which is even higher than in the soil, that's even higher than the New Jersey standard, right, Trace? Than the New Jersey standard, which is 19 ppm, and we saw people with 35, 40, Trace, I'm asking you. Yeah. Okay, I remember about 40, okay? So 19 versus 40.
Parts per million.
Parts per million.
And arsenic accumulates if you don't pass it through your kidneys.
No.
It just stays in the body.
Unfortunately, it's metabolized to an even more toxic product. And cadmium that we tested back in 2020, cadmium in Sally's Pond, had the fish were loaded with cadmium. Cadmium causes chronic kidney disease, kidney cancer, as well as many, many other diseases. The benzene that we've measured here, it causes leukemia, well known. That's why there are studies that have shown gas station attendants who pump gas way back. They have a very high incidence of leukemia. We're seeing here from our survey, we're seeing here incidence of thyroid cancer. Things that we don't see in the state of New Jersey or the state at levels that are not seen in the state of New Jersey or in the country. There's much data on that. That's already epidemiology studies that have been published, but not here. There's been no epidemiology surveys here. In 2006, New Jersey Department of Health.
This is the only study of this community that's
Yes.
been done? Okay.
I hope that wasn't for me, right?
No. I mean, that's incredible to me. I mean,
They've done
the state
some
has
studies.
never- The
Rutgers,
state has never studied this community.
not like this. Rutgers has done some studies. University of Pennsylvania is working with Chief, Montclair, but we're the only ones doing the health and the exposure assessments. Thank you.
There's a copy of the press release here on the podium if members of the press want names of the speakers. And if there are no more questions from the audience, if people
Oh, there is a question back there.
if people want to